world, welcome to my universe. To succeed as a planet in the 21st century, a strong education for every human being isn't just important, it is essential. This is one of the basic truths of human existence. We all understand this, but it begs the question, what does it really mean to receive an education? For past generations, it made sense for education to be institutionally based. Schools and universities were the hubs of all human knowledge, so that's where one went to learn. Great minds congregated at universities, grew within universities, and changed the world with universities as a launching pad. Institutional education has been a massive force for good for hundreds of years, and in no way, shape, or form am I trying to deride what it has done for society. What I am here to say, however, is that we are in the midst of a very real revolution, and if institutional education refuses to adapt to the landscape of the information age, it will die, and it should die. Throughout all of human history, there's a particular trend that has remained constant. The value of information has consistently been going down. Now, on the surface, this may sound like a bad thing, but really, it's just a natural result of society moving forward. In the age of kingdoms, areas had one supreme ruler who was the only person with complete access to information. Needless to say, information was very, very valuable. As kingdoms failed, they were replaced by systems with very clearly defined class structures. There were typically three groups: the aristocracy, the working class, and the poor. The aristocracy had access to information, and nobody else did. Information was still quite valuable, but not as valuable as it had been before. As time went on, these clearly defined class structures morphed into less clearly defined class structures. There emerged a wealthy, educated class with complete access to information, a poor, uneducated class without access to information, and a massive gray area in the middle where people had limited access to information. This is the system that made institutional education possible. For the first time, it didn't matter who you were born to. If you could pay for it, information was yours to buy. By and large, this is the same system we use today. If one wants access to the information a university has and can pay for it, then they're gonna get it, and if they can't pay for it, they're not. But here's the thing. Society is not done moving forward, and with the advent of the internet, the monetary value of information is fast approaching zero. This is not a bad thing. It is a good thing. And not only is it a good thing, it is the best thing to have ever happened to human beings. Because of the internet, information is now free. And by free, I don't just mean doesn't cost any money, I also mean that it has been liberated. Example, 15 years ago, if one was planning a road trip, they'd need to go to the store, purchase an atlas, and painstakingly chart their course. Today, you can just type it into Google Maps, or Bing Maps, or MapQuest, and you're done! There are literally millions of examples like this spanning every single aspect of society, and while we're still in the early stages, this is the revolution I'm talking about. And most societal entities are reinventing themselves to prepare for this revolution. The music industry has embraced iTunes. Governments have taken significant steps towards transparency. And successful businesses are looking less like Dilbert and more like Google. But what has education done to reinvent itself? In my experience, nothing. I mean, sure, you've started using email, online databases, services like Blackboard, and if this were 1999, I'd be saying, great! But it's not 1999, and if institutional education wants to survive in the information age, then institutional education needs to do more than just adopt a few new tools. Let me speak from my own experience. I was a student at the University of Nebraska, and most of my classes went something like this. On the first day, I'd show up, and there would be a lecture hall full of 40 to 200 kids, and just one professor. Professors rarely made an effort to learn anyone's names and almost never encouraged any sort of interaction amongst the students. I'd be required to spend somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 per class on textbooks that I would never open. Not because I didn't care, but because better, easier to find information was available online. Classes would drag on for an hour, and all they would consist of was the professor in the front with a PowerPoint telling us facts. We'd frantically scribble down those facts, test time would come around and we would memorize our scribblings, we'd take the test, and we would receive a grade based on how many facts we memorized. But society no longer cares how many facts we can memorize, because in the information age, facts are free. Any educational institution based solely on providing students with facts is not preparing students for the real world. See, in the noble quest to provide education to the masses, we have lost sight of what education really is. Education isn't about teaching facts. It's about stoking creativity and new ideas. It's not about teaching students how to conform to the world as it is. It's about empowering students to change the world for the better. 2 weeks ago, I dropped out of school, not because I'm a deadbeat, not because I was failing, not because I'm not just as motivated as anyone else to make a difference in this world. I dropped out of school because my schooling was interfering with my education. It is clear to the world that something just isn't working with institutional education, and most people say that this means we need to change institutional education. But to the educators of the world, I am here today to say that I disagree. You don't need to change anything. You simply need to understand that the world is changing, and if you don't change with it, the world will decide that it doesn't need you anymore. Until next time, I am Dan Brown, and I'm out. If you like what you just saw, if Dan put you in a state of awe, subscribe to him and click the orange button. It really means something. If you do that, that'd be really cool.